and welcome back to another episode of the High Five Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. My name is Kayla, and I am joined with my friends Rachel and Isaac from the High Five team. And this week, we are jumping in to the throes of August. We are right in the middle of the simple truth: I am designed for a purpose, and for preschool, God has a plan for me. Now, this week, we are going to be talking about something so fun, which is love and how we can love others. But before we jump in and talk all things content and all things to help prepare you for your session this week, we're going to have a fun little question, which is, what is your love language? So if you haven't heard, I'm sure you have, but there's this thing out there called the love languages, and all of these different ways that we experience love and ways that we share love. So I'm really curious, Isaac and Rachel, like what's your love language? What would your people say your love language is?
Well, I would say my love language is probably physical touch. Like I'm a hugger. Like I'll go up to my friends and I'll just give them a big hug. I showed up at church on Sunday, and my best friend is also physical touch, and he just picked me up and carried me into church. And I was like, what a great way to enter church. Like, it was a great time. So like physical touch, giving someone a high five, giving someone a hug, just letting them know that I'm physically there. I love that.
I would say words of affirmation, probably for me. But I will say that it's never been physical touch. But with my kids, it's changing things a little bit. I find that, I want to hug them and hold them and cuddle them and show them I love them in that way. And I think it might be because it's become apparent that's the way they receive love. So I think it's interesting how I've seen that change.
That is funny because my wife is words of affirmation. And as the longer I've been married, the more I find value in that, because I know that's something that she likes. So I've been trying to do it. But then I've also learned that, oh, this is actually something I like too.
What about you, Kayla?
Yeah, I think those are so interesting because I can totally see both of those love languages for you guys. I have a little theory of do we give and receive, do we give and receive love in the same way? So that my love language that I receive love, is it the same way that I give it? I don't know. So you guys let me know if you have thoughts or opinions on that. Initially, I want to say all of them. Like I love all of them in some way, shape, or form. But I would say definitely my top love language is quality time, and spending quality time with people without distraction, without phones or anything else. That's for sure probably my top one. But I also love acts of service, and I love words of affirmation. And just a few days ago, I received a really unexpected, super thoughtful gift. And it's like the thing I've been talking about to all the people. I'm like, you won't believe what just happened. I just got this amazing sweet gift for no reason, and it was just the best thing ever. And so, I love all the love languages, but I think definitely, I think quality time with people is probably my number one. So, so if you listeners have a love language that is near and dear to your heart of how you receive love or how you share love, we'd love to hear about it, because it's just really fun to see and hear how the Lord has made us, and how even in the ways that we love one another, that there are unique specificities, the ways that we can show love to other people and ways that we can receive love. So today we are talking all about how I can love others. And we're going to be looking at the Bible story, Love One Another, from 1 Corinthians 13. Now, as you know, it's not a very traditional narrative. This is not Jesus feeding the 5,000 kind of Bible story. But we thought it was really important as we teach about other parts of the Bible, that both preschoolers and kids need to rub shoulders with this content. They need to learn and know and understand what Paul is teaching, in First Corinthians 13 about what love is and why it matters. So, Isaac, help us kind of talk through that a little bit. How are we talking about this Bible story this week in a way that's really deeper than just list out a list of do this and don't do that when it comes to loving others?
Yes, we do look at this scripture from First Corinthians. We do read that, hey, love is patient, love is kind, it does not get jealous or boastful or proud. Those are definitely things that we look at because it's scripture and it is important to us. But I love that we double click, especially with like in the kids area. We look and we say, hey, who was this letter being written to? Okay, it was the Christians in Corinth. And instead of obeying what Jesus said, they were kind of doing their own thing. So Paul is writing this letter to them to help them know, hey, this is how we should act, not just as good people, but as followers of God. Because when we look at the truth that God is love, we can celebrate that our actions actually point to our identity as one of his followers, as someone who is following God, as one of his children. So when we go out and we show love to our friends, when we go out and we show love to our little brother or little sister who's annoying us, when we go out and we show love to the people who it's not easy to always show love to, and even to the people it is easy to show love to, we are showing them that who God is right here in front of them. When we talk about, hey, God has a plan for us, that we are uniquely designed because God has a plan for us, we get to celebrate that God has designed us to follow him. And part of following him is to love each other. We don't want the kids to be just loud cymbals going out to love for the sake of loving, but we want them to go out and intentionally love in a way that God has ordained for each of us.
That is great. Thank you, Isaac. That's absolutely. I love what you said there at the end of like, we don't want kids to be loud clanging cymbals, but we do want to root them in their identity of this is who we are and the purpose that God has for us, how he has uniquely designed us and the plans that he has for us and how we can do that. That's rooted in who he is, which I think is really cool. All right, Rachel, we know that this concept of love is sometimes it's overused a lot, but sometimes with kids and preschoolers, especially, it can be kind of challenging to talk about because we're so developmentally self centered. So, how can we relate and kind of lean in on this concept of loving others that's in an age appropriate way?
Yeah, that's a great question because preschoolers can love a red crayon and they can love their mom and they can love God. And so it can be a really broad and kind of confusing topic. And when push comes to shove, preschoolers and younger kids are hardwired developmentally at this point to love themselves and to want to do what works best for them. So this is a really neat session that we get to teach because we're going to give concrete examples. Because when we just say love others broadly, preschoolers and kids are not going to understand fully what that means. They could say, I love you, but it's not going to, that would be the clanging symbol because there's no real love or action behind it. And so in these sessions, we're giving kids the opportunity and preschoolers to actually get to show love and to do things in a concrete way. We have several opportunities for preschoolers to draw pictures and show someone care and love, to play a game and to consider others during that game. There are our super clue this week is candy hearts with a sweet message on them to help preschoolers connect that they can share candy. They can share candy hearts and messages, and that it's God's plan for us to love others and to give it away to others and to show that love. So I think one of the unique ways in High Five Preschooling Kids that we're going to get to help preschoolers and younger kids understand this idea of love outside of themselves is by getting to practice it through our activities this week and getting to actually put some hands and feet to the concept.
That is so good because you're right. If we just paint with broad strokes in this area, the term love is so used in our culture that we need to give some specifics of some tangible handles or some tangible tools of ways of how we show love. And the way that that works well within a preschool space or within a kid space that's age appropriate, and also is really practical actions and really practical steps for ways that they can love others. So that's really great. Thanks for sharing that. All right, you guys. So the last thing we're going to talk about in our podcast today is our Flip It connections. If you are not aware, we provide these small, tiny, fun little events that you can do throughout the month, where you're connecting to friends, leaders, influencers, or pastors. That's what we say FLIP stands for. And so this month is so fun. It's August. It is probably hot where you are. It is very hot where I am. And we are going to be doing just a really fun, sweet Flip It connection. So, Rachel, will you talk to us a little bit about what that is and explain a little bit about what the Flip It connection is and how it just connects to this simple truth of how God has a plan for me and how I am uniquely designed?
Sure. So this month we're doing a Flip It connection that's called Frozen Pop Fun. And it's going to be such a neat, casual way for families to connect with each other, kids to connect with each other, and most of all, for influencers to connect with our kids. And so influencers are anyone who leads in kids ministry and participates in kids and preschoolers' lives. And so with this Flip It event, as families come in to pick up time or however you decide you want to do it, they're going to be given a frozen pop and also some conversation cards so that families can circle up, gather with another family, their leaders, whoever they want to, and go through these conversation cards and engage each other and just get to know one another. Because sometimes at pickup, it's busy and people walk by each other and they see each other every week, but they're in a hurry to get to the next thing. So this is going to be a fun way to just stop and savor summer a little bit longer and get to spend some time with each other.
And I want to add on one thing really quick. So my church actually just did this Flip It event, and it was so much fun. I got to watch through social media, and it was so cool to see the amount of kids that showed up. We did it at a local park, and it was so cool to see how many kids showed up to get a popsicle, how many first-time guests were there that were like, yeah, we've only been going to the church 1 or 2 times, but we decided, hey, it's summer, and we just moved here, and we're trying to meet new people before school starts. And it was really cool also that some people even found out that, hey, you're going to be in my class next year at school. So not only are we going to be in the same class at school, but now we can share as part of the church family. And the parents were able to meet each other. And honestly, the secret thing behind this that I absolutely love and loved hearing about it is how many parents actually met each other and were able to build relationships. So yes, the kids were able to build relationships while they were hanging out at the park, meeting their leaders, but also the parents were able to build those connections so that they can, so the kids can grow up in a biblical community.
That's amazing. Thank you both for sharing that. Yeah, like they're just such fun, sweet events. They're simple to do. There's not a lot of prep. You grab some popsicles, print out a couple of cards, and head to the park. And what a huge impact it makes in your ministry spaces, not only for your kids and for your preschoolers who get to experience this fun, sweet activity, but like you said, Isaac, also for their parents or their grandparents or their guardians or whoever is involved in their family, to where they can make those connections. And that's just such a sweet, tangible way, one, to serve your community and to love one another well. And then also just to be really intentional with in the places that God has you, that you are designed for a purpose, and that your purpose for what God has in your life right now is to be right here, to be in this place, in this time, and to reach out to the people and be able to share God's love with them in such a sweet, tangible way. So thank you both for sharing that. All right, leaders. So we have one more week of this truth, and then we're going to jump into a whole nother truth in September, which just blows my mind. We will be taking another rotation around our scope and sequence wheel, and we're going back to the simple truth, I am known, in September, or God knows me. Now, as you all know, the truth stays the same, but everything inside is going to change. So the Bible stories and the content and the videos and the design, everything is brand new. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you will want to go over as soon as you get out of your car or stop loading your dishwasher. You will want to go check out myhifi.com, go over to the specific kids or preschool or student pages and be able to look at that scope and sequence coming up for the next 6 months. So for the next half of the rotation, you'll be able to see that. All right, last thing before we end our time together, if you haven't already, Etch is just around the corner. And so September 30th through October the 2nd, we are gathering with so many ministry leaders from student ministry to preschool ministry to kids ministry. We are all coming together to talk about refocus, how we can sharpen their vision in an era of change. And so you are not going to want to miss this amazing time of community, of collaboration, of learning, of worshiping together, of connection. So if you haven't checked it out already, please run over and grab your ticket. I think there are still some left that you can join us in the end of September, 1st of October for an amazing experience with Etch. Well, listeners, as always, we are so grateful for you and the work that you are doing. We are praying for your ministry, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. Until next time.